Alright, so much apologies for today. I do have a cold, so will be a bit sniffly. But I've taken my Vicks Sinex, so hopefully it won't interfere too much with this video. But thanks again. This is James off the cuff, and I want to be talking about anxiety and panic attacks and how to deal with it. And I'll share with you my own experiences, how I first realized I had anxiety and a recollection of when my first panic attack was. And I also want to talk about the types, or the reasons why we get panic attacks or have anxiety, what the triggers are. And then I also want to talk about the coping mechanisms, ways in which you can realize what your triggers are and ease yourself out of that feeling of anxiety and stop yourself from having a panic attack. I'd say my first recollection of having a panic attack, well, of anxiety, which led to a panic attack, was in 2010. I'm a singer, and back then I signed myself up to do an open mic night. I told anyone I knew, all my friends, to come. You won on the premise of getting the loudest cheers. So I thought, if I invite so many people, everyone that I knew, and they cheered for me the loudest, then hopefully I would win. And hopefully I'll be good as well. So the build up and the anticipation of telling people, knowing that so many people will be coming from my university and friends of friends coming as well, it kind of put a lot of pressure on myself to actually perform on the day really well. So I did my open mic. I don't have stage fright, and that's the funny thing. I don't actually have stage fright. I actually love being on the stage performing. It actually gives me a bit of an adrenaline rush. But I think what made me feel anxious was the thought of, I've told all these people to come, and what if I don't win? And again, that's all the irrational thoughts that I've put on myself, completely irrational. So when they were calling people's names, people had performed up onto the stage, I kind of just, I didn't black out, but I couldn't hear anything around me. And when I had finally caught on to what was going on, all I saw was my cousin and my friend just saying to me, I couldn't hear what they were saying. I was very incoherent. I could vaguely hear the room, but the room sounded very, very, very distant. And at this point now, I'm sweating profusely down my face, and everyone's looking at me like, why aren't you going on stage? They're calling your name, James, they're calling your name. And I'm looking at everyone really confused. And then I think my cousin managed to just lift my arm, and I saw the other performers standing on the stage side by side, and I thought, okay, maybe that's what I need to do. So I just followed where I thought I needed to stand. At this point now, the sound of the room was gradually coming back. I think my chest was still feeling very tight standing on the stage, because I remember my friends saying to me, you looked so worried on stage. But I think at that moment, I was worried about what was going to happen to me. I could feel myself sweating, and I was perspiring all through my t-shirt. It felt like I was just gonna pass out. So I remember just being on stage, just standing there like, okay, when's this gonna finish? And then I remember when they called my name and I heard the cheers, and I thought, okay, that doesn't sound too bad. That sounds pretty good. I didn't end up winning in the end. I came second. I came second to a girl who the previous year was on X Factor. And she was actually really good. So yeah, that was my first experience of having a panic attack, and I didn't know what it was at the time. I moved past that situation and just told myself it was my nerves getting to me. My friends never mentioned it again, so it was just put in the past. Fast forward to 5 years later, I was in a job that was really, really stressful. And I'm talking, I was working 16, 18-hour days and still not able to complete the work that was expected of me to complete. So I was very stressed. I remember going to bed with my chest feeling, waking up in the middle of the night, sorry, with my chest feeling extremely tight and just not knowing what that was. And that would happen day in, day out for about 3 to 4 months. And I just thought maybe it was the weather changing. I do suffer from a lot of allergies. I thought maybe it was related to that. I take a Pirites tablet every day because I'm allergic to so many different foods. I'm allergic to dust mites, I'm allergic to grass, I'm allergic to bird trees. So I thought it was just related to that. But then my sister said to me, James, if you're experiencing these chest pains, you need to go to the doctor about this. And she suffers from asthma. So she thought it could have been that. So I went to the doctor now, and the doctor checked my blood pressure, they checked my heart rate, and they asked me, is anything like getting you really stressed at the moment? And I said, well, not really, but I guess I'm working a lot of long hours at work. It feels like I can't deliver what's expected of me because there's just not enough hours of the day. I explained that I'm waking up in the middle of the night with my chest feeling very tight and being unable to get back to sleep again. And I could tell at this point, the doctor looked quite concerned, and she said to me, well, your blood pressure is really, really high and you currently have heart palpitations. So I'm going to prescribe for you a drug called propranolol, I think that's how you pronounce it. And I'm going to sign you off for work for a week. And I went, oh, okay. And she went, no, actually, I'm going to sign you off for work for 2 months. I was like, what? She went, yeah. She said, you can't go back to that place. She said, it's at your age. At the time I was 25, 26, I think. She said, at your age, your heart rate, your blood pressure shouldn't be that high, and your heart palpitations shouldn't be what it's coming up as. So you need to not go back to work, take some time off, relax, and think about what you want to do next. And she seemed pretty serious about it, very stern. So I remember I went to go get the medication straight after leaving the doctor's, and the medication definitely helped my heart rate slow down. I think propranolol, sorry if I'm butchering how it's pronounced, it's meant to slow down your heart rate, and it helps with high blood pressure, but it also alleviates the symptoms of anxiety like shaking and sweating profusely. So I started taking that medication whilst I signed off work, and I was trying to get into the routine of going to the gym. But what I noticed was when I was on that medication, even riding my bike felt like hard work. Normally I'd be pedaling uphill quite fast, but it just felt like my heart couldn't deal with supplying my body and my lungs with what I was doing. I don't know if that was related to the anxiety. I don't know if it was the medication, but I remember just feeling very slow on the medication. So I stopped taking it. When I returned back to work, the situation did get better. I was able to take control of why I was feeling anxious. I was able to really articulate everything that I had to do in my day-to-day on my job, my 9 to 5. And I had to explain to the people giving me the workload that these things take me 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 2 hours. There's only 8.5 hours of the day. Well, 8.5? Yeah, there's only 8.5 hours of the work day. What is a priority and what can be left until tomorrow? I had to really get granular about how long it was taking me to do things and when I could deliver it. And that was a good learning experience for me, actually, because not only was I able to set expectations, but I was also able to really take the pressure off myself about what was expected of me in a real world environment. And it made me realize as well, after a certain age, after you go through secondary school, high school, no one out there gives a shit about what you're going through. They just want the work done. So unless you're able to really speak up for yourself in those moments and really be your own champion, they're gonna try and find ways to make you look like you're incompetent. They don't care about if you're feeling anxious. They don't care about your mental health. Unfortunately, they don't. They have their deadlines. They have their expectations of what their manager and their manager needs, and they just want that met. So it was a very good learning experience for me. Just gave you two examples just then of when I experienced anxiety slash panic attacks. But what's crazy is, for myself anyway, I noticed that I don't feel anxious just when I think that something bad's gonna happen. I feel anxious also when something really good is about to happen, and I'm scared about if I'm ready to receive that. I'm scared about me ruining that opportunity. I can get anxious from that as well. So it can manifest itself in various ways, especially if you tend to be quite an anxious person naturally. But what really helped me get over my anxiety, I'd say I'm still quite an anxious person now, but no way near to how anxious I was 10 years ago. I would say breathing exercises. When you feel your chest starting to tighten up, just start to breathe. Through your mouth, very calmly, big breaths in, big breaths out, but as slow as possible. And eventually your heart rate will start to mirror that cadence and it will start to slow down. That helps massively. I would also say meditation. I've spoken about this in one of my previous videos. I like to sit down on my carpet in my living room. I like to visualize where I currently am in my house, the flat above me, the flat below me, and then I go further down. What's below the flat below me? Maybe it might be the soil, the pipe work, the electricals. Below that, it could be the sewage system. Below that, it could be more soil. Then you're getting further down into the ground. And then you get to the core of the earth. And then I come back to where I am again. And when I go above me, the flat above me, the roof of the building I'm in, the trees, the clouds, planes flying through the sky. Then you get further out of the ozone layer. Then you can start to see the universe. So you go further out, and then you can start to see the planets, and then you keep going further out, to the point when you look down and you can't even see where you're positioned on the earth anymore. You just see the planet. And for me anyway, it really makes me realize that my problems aren't that big in the grand scheme of things. They're real problems, but they're not that big in the grand scheme of things. And it really grounds you, and it really makes you feel like every problem or any stressful situation that you're in is going to be dealt with eventually. And if it doesn't get dealt with eventually, you will be okay. So it's just really rationalizing how serious the situation is. Of course, there may be some situations where it does require you to actually act fast. It does require you to feel a bit panicked. But on your day-to-day, you will be okay. And I want everyone who is going through anxiety or has had a panic attack just to know that in that moment, to tell yourself that you will be okay, you're not going to die. And then also journaling can also help. Think about the times when you did feel very stressed and when it did build up a feeling of anxiety in your chest, what those triggers were. Journaling what those triggers were, how you felt before and how you felt after you stepped into that new situation, or after someone said something to you, or after you seeing someone. Journal what those feelings were, and then you can try to unpack what the root cause is. Who does that person remind you of? That person, why did that original person make you feel anxious? It may stem back all the way to your childhood. So start journaling. That can help you understand your triggers and why you react in the way you do when certain things happen or don't happen. As you know, I'm a big advocate of staying active. I try to work out at least 4 times a week. Exercise, cardio, weightlifting does lower your stress levels. It's a known fact. Try to stay active, even when it feels you are so debilitated in your feeling. Even just walking around your area every day, that can really help it can help lower your blood sugar level, and in effect, it can also help lower your heart rate. The gym as well is a good place where you're around people. Sometimes being around people can help take your mind off what you're currently going through. So it gives your brain a chance to just switch off and focus on what's on hand, and that can help really well. And even something as simple as like doing a puzzle. I remember doing a puzzle with my nephew last week. He's only 2 years old, and I haven't done a puzzle in years, but I remember how much he relaxed doing that puzzle, and I felt a sense of calm just focusing on that one thing, forgetting about everything else that's going on, but you're just focusing on that one task. That can really help. And then also making sure you're getting in good sleep. If you're not getting enough sleep at night, your levels of cortisol are going to be very high. When you're stressed, you can get very easily overwhelmed by the most simplest of tasks. So make sure you're getting, at least for myself, what works for me is 6 hours or more. Between 6 hours to 8 hours is the soft spot for me. I think I work best at 6. I know that probably sounds a bit low for most people, but for myself, I operate best on 6 to 7 hours. So make sure you're getting in enough sleep at night. That can really help with your anxiety and panic attacks. And then last, but definitely not least, is seeking therapy. Therapy is a great way to help you understand yourself. It's a great way for you to really unpack why you're triggered by certain things. And if you're seeing a really good therapist, they can suggest amazing coping mechanisms for life that you can use anytime you do feel a bit anxious or you feel like a panic attack is about to come on. Therapy is great. Most therapy sessions, you can get a free session for the first half an hour to see if that person's right for you. But finding that right therapist and help work back to when you first had your first anxiety attack or panic attack, they would really be able to find the root cause and help you in the long run of how to deal with that feeling. Because let's be honest, the feeling of feeling anxious, that's a natural feeling we all experience. But when it starts to consume you and your thoughts start to become very irrational, I would say that's when you need to seek help from a professional therapist. Just know that it's a very natural feeling, very common. Billions of people on earth go through it on a day-to-day. You're not alone. So just stay calm and just know that you're not gonna die in that moment, even though sometimes it may feel like the world's gonna crumble in and swallow you whole. Just know that you're not gonna die, and you will be able to take control of that feeling the more you practice coping mechanisms. So I just want to say, if that has helped you, feel free to share it to someone that you think needs to hear this. My page is called James Off the Cuff. I'm just here to talk about regular things. Sometimes share my experiences. I don't always share my own experiences, but I felt like someone who's gone through this pretty badly and came out at the end being okay. I don't know what life has to hold for me. I don't know if I'm going to go into another wave of anxiety and panic attacks. Who knows? But right now, I'm managing it very well. I've managed to set myself up in my life whereby I have my safety nets where they are. So it all helps. So be here every Monday. Thanks for stopping by, and feel free to subscribe if you're enjoying these conversations. Take care. Bye for now.